I'm pissed off. Multiple different content creators with prominent platforms in Britain have decided to take it upon themselves to promote a new Change.org-esque petition on our official Parliament website to their easily impressionable audience of mainly minors that would, if enacted by our government, lead to any social media account being opened requiring a legal documentation including that person's name, their date of birth, and basically every other form of personal information you could ever consider, which would quite literally remove any anonymity within the UK on social media, which is a right, and also at the exact same time ruin people's right to expression and a whole bunch more, while hiding this under the guise of anti-racism with their justification that this is all acceptable because it would remove trolls and racists, while simultaneously making it so any social media platform will require legal documentation. So if a shady social media platform opens, they can just claim that they want your legal documentation and then they could sell that information off or share it publicly, and the main social media that people actually do use could very easily have a data breach, or someone inside could look into that information and then dox people, swat people, harass people, and lead to way more harassment than this enactment would actually help, while also simultaneously making it so that people that aren't comfortable with coming out publicly about their sexual identity being exposed to the whole world because they'd have no choice other than exposing it without any other decision from themselves, while simultaneously possibly having to dead name themselves and a whole bunch more. This is a terrible idea that for some reason YouTubers in the UK have decided to promote with no regard for how much damage this could actually do to the whole community. They clearly didn't think ahead, and they only shared it because it was a petition made by one of their YouTuber friends. Now, today I'm going to cover this, go in depth on why this is a fucking stupid petition, and why I'm so pissed off that these YouTubers, without any consideration for how much harm this could do, promoted this because all they care about in themselves is what they benefit from the most. This is one of the most piss poor takes I've seen any YouTuber promote, and it's so harmful, and it's so funny to see the same YouTubers that shit on other creators that do this type of thing being the same people that are doing this. So today I'm going to sit down and explain it to you. Before I begin, hi, I'm HarleyTBS. I post videos every single day. I'm aiming for 50k subs by the end of the year. If you'd like to help me get to that goal, that would be highly appreciated. And if you'd like to join the coffee community, we're like tea channels, but we actually do our research and make points that actually matter. You can become a channel member by clicking the join button, and you get one of these 3 icons. You can also check out my other social media down below. And with that being said, let's get right into it. This petition reads, make verified ID a requirement for opening a new social media account. Make it a legal requirement when opening a new social media account to provide a verified form of ID where the account belongs to a person under the age of 18. Verify the account with the ID of a parent/guardian to prevent anonymous harmful activity, providing traceability if an offense occurs. My son Harvey is disabled. He is also the kind and gentle son of a person regularly in the public eye. The Online Harms Bill does not go far enough in making online abuse a specified criminal offense and doing what Harvey's law intended. To make the law work needs the removal of anonymity online to ensure that users cannot cause harm by using online platforms to abuse others. Where an offense has taken place, they ought to be easily identified and reported to the police and punished. We have experienced the worst kind of abuse towards my disabled son and want to make sure that no one can hide behind their crime. Now, let me tell you, in my opinion, 3 of the most glaring issues with this whole petition. Number 1, making it so that it's a legal requirement for you to have ID next to any social media account, as simultaneously this makes it so that trans people or people that don't want to expose their identity or come out about who they are yet are forced to expose their sexual identity to the public, even if they aren't comfortable with being public about it, which could only lead to more harassment, more targeting, and more discrimination on a whole in their real life or on social media, as obviously even if they enact this punishment, it doesn't mean that people aren't going to harass people anymore on social media, especially if they're stuck in their ways or actually believe the harassment they're participating in on social media. And also, people that don't have access to IDs, like many millions of people in the UK, and kids whose parents aren't going to accept them to have a social media account if they know that their identity is going to be stuck next to anything their child posts. Also, at the exact same time, putting a kid's private information online is only going to lead to a heap of problems, especially when predators are prevalent and hacking is very easily nowadays. This seems like a ridiculous idea to punish millions of people, punish the maximum amount of people for mistakes of few, which seems incredibly unfair and justified. Also, they tried to argue here that this would provide traceability if an offense occurred, and they would make it so that they could report to the police and punish people. Now, that would either mean one of 2 things. Either 1, they believe that if they add ID to social media, it would mean that police would be able to stalk down these people and they couldn't already, which means that this person clearly doesn't understand that IP addresses are a thing, and the government could very easily track down anyone in the first place that was posting something on social media. Or 2, that they want that private information to be stuck publicly next to any social media account, which, again, if you don't see the issue with minors having their personal information online, you are fucking stupid. Also, there are millions of people that don't want their personal information online because that enacts so much danger on so many people. Doxing, harassment, swatting, stalking, a whole heap of other problems would be prevalent constantly if this was the case, which seems ridiculous, and for some reason these people think that this is going to remove all harassment from social media if they enact this punishment, like we're in a fairy world where harassment doesn't exist if people's personal information is online. I've got a clear thing to explain to you. 1. The UK isn't the whole of the world. People in other countries that have free speech like America can still harass you the exact same without any punishment to them. 2. This would change nothing about the harassment, as even if their information was public on these platforms, still at the exact same time, people in the UK have freedom of speech and a right of expression. Yeah, they can be banned from social media platforms, but the government isn't going to act upon anything they've said online, and as such, nothing is going to come from this other than more problems and more invalidation of LGBTQ identities and more harassment on a whole, with a huge risk of hackings that could lead to personal information being exposed to everyone. But now I think it's time to go over what the government said in response to this, because I feel like they made a level-headed response to 500,000 idiots that have decided to agree with this petition. Let's get to that now. The full government response, which was made back in May by the way, so I have no idea why this is being continued now by content creators, reads, "The government recognizes concerns linked to anonymity online, which can sometimes be exploited by bad actors seeking to engage in harmful activity. However, restricting all users' rights to anonymity by introducing compulsory user verification for social media could disproportionately impact users who rely on anonymity to protect their identity. These users include young people exploring their gender or sexual identity, whistleblowers, journalists, sources, and victims of abuse. Introducing a new legal requirement whereby only verified users can access social media would force these users to disclose their identity and increase the risk of harm to their personal safety. Furthermore, users without ID or users who are reliant on ID from family members would experience a serious restriction of their online experience, freedom of expression, and rights." Research from the Electoral Commission suggests that there are 3.5 million people in the UK who do not currently have access to a valid photo ID. And then they continue by explaining their framework that they're trying to put in place that would protect more people in different ways than by sharing and exposing their anonymity. And they continue by saying, "The police already have a range of legal powers to identify individuals who attempt to use anonymity to escape sanctions for online harms where the activity is illegal. The government is also working with law enforcement to review whether the current powers are sufficient to tackle illegal anonymous abuse online. The outcome of that work will inform the government's future position in relation to illegal anonymous online abuse. The government has also asked the Law Commission to review existing legislation on abusive and harmful communications. The Law Commission has consulted on proposed reforms, and a final report is expected in the summer. We will carefully consider using the online harms legislation to bring the Law Commission's final recommendations into law where it is necessary and appropriate to do so. Anonymity underpins people's fundamental right to express themselves and access information online in a liberal democracy. Introducing a new legal requirement for user verification on social media would unfairly restrict this right and force vulnerable users to disclose their identity. The online safety legislation will address harmful anonymized activities online and introduce robust measures to protect the safety and improve the safety of all users online." This response stands to quite clearly reason that the UK government recognises that exposing anonymity would remove people's right to anonymity online, which would be unfair, but would also cause a multitude of problems for LGBTQ identities, whistleblowers, and a whole heap of other people, while simultaneously only making it easier for harassment to occur online, while minimising any of the actual results that would come from targeting these people and calling them out for trolling or harassing. As the government, as recognised, already has multiple different ways to recognise who people are by what they post online, so making this other method wouldn't help anyone and would only cause more problems in the long run, and I believe this government response highlights every problem with this whole situation to a decent degree, and as such I feel like there's not really much more that needs to be said on that. So now, let's talk about the influencers that are promoting this ideology without any research into this petition at all. Now, there are thousands of TikTok accounts that are making tweets about this and promoting this petition, but I'd like to focus on two in particular, that being the author and Jackmate, as both of them make terrible takes. The author said, "Wow, look how many of you have now signed my tracker troll petition. Thank you so much." Now, if you don't see the issue with this, they highlight the fact that the people they're trying to call out are trolls. These people are looking for attention, and giving them that attention won't help them. The best way to respond to trolls is to report their accounts, because trolls aren't going to disappear whether their personal information is out there or not. So report the trolls, and Twitter, because it's overly censored in the first place, will probably ban their accounts, and block words that you don't like, block accounts you don't like, and stop responding to it and feeding them because they're just going to continue to troll you more. An act like this would only harm more people than it would help, as trolls already get banned from platforms very quickly anyway. It just seems like an overdramatic response to an issue that really isn't that big of a problem. Simultaneously, Jackmate made a very poor take, saying that this is a super important petition and we should make actions have consequences. Those consequences in question means restricting access to social media for millions and invalidating the rights of millions of LGBTQIA people and doxing people that they dislike because they got trolled. This take was obviously awful and Jackmate deleted it, so I really think it goes without saying that making takes like this is fucking stupid, as promoting the idea that because someone trolled you online should give them consequences in a legal sense and they should have their personal information doxed is a terrible take to have. And seeing all these verified Twitter accounts trying to say that because someone said something bad online means that doxing them is justified is fucking hilarious. But with that being said, I can't bear to sit through any more verified Twitter accounts making awful takes, so I hope this video has exemplified the point I was trying to make to the best of my ability, and if you have enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to help me get to 50k by the end of the year, and check out my other social media down below. If you'd like to become a channel member and support me financially, click the join button, you'll get one of these coffee icons, and with that being said, I'll see you next time, turn on notifications so you don't miss a video, and peace.
Says she wanna rock with it like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with it like me. We can catch a fly. Says she wanna rock with it like me.